is going to bring us back to you as well to get your reaction to this, because how much of this is noise? How much of this is mudslinging? How much of this is politics? How much should investors and corporate America be paying attention here?
Yeah, but I think, this year has there's been a lot of mudslinging and a lot of threats. And I think if we look at what President Trump's style has been like so far, it tends to be very damaging threats that aren't always followed through, but it's part of a process of getting the other side to kind of step down or back down. And so we would assume that this is probably more of the same, although it's hard to really stand behind that exactly because we don't know how every situation is going to play out. I would think that would be the case given how important so many of Musk's companies are to the United States and to the government and to the military. So I do think that this is probably going to blow over and that both parties will back down to a certain extent. But in the meanwhile, it certainly is causing volatility. So I don't think there's a lot to do here as a shareholder other than to focus on the longer term perspective from the Tesla standpoint.
Craig, I see the possibility here that the longer term relationship between Silicon Valley's right-ish wing, the libertarians out there, and the Trump administration could break down a bit. And with Elon Musk's encouragement, they could start to look beyond the Trump years in a way that might not be friendly to his agenda and really might not be friendly to their stock values in the near term. Is that an outcome that you could see as well?
Anything is possible, but you guys just made the point minutes ago with Musk's tweet in the last 5 minutes that he's saying impeach Trump and elevate Vance. He's pulling Vance closer. He's expressing confidence in Vance. He's not heading to the left. He's very clearly in the camp of, let's not waste some federal dollars. He's very purist, right? And I think that Trump is pragmatist, right? Trump's got to govern, and he's saying we're going to save 1.6 trillion. That's a lot of money. It's not perfect, but it's one heck of a step forward. Screw this up, and we got a 68% tax increase. Musk is on the path of saying, let's get it all done. Let's save 2 trillion, 3 trillion if we can. And, for them to be fighting over that, is kind of sad, right? There's tremendous egos in play here. I mean, the bromance was so strong, it had to come to an end, but the interests are still incredibly well aligned. And they're both really good at what they do. And it's a very healthy thing for them to have a little bit more distance because it allows them to both focus on their core responsibilities, governing and running their portfolio of companies.
Tim, I do want to stay with this line of thought, and that is the last 5 months, we'll say 6 months, even before the inauguration, the relationship, the intersection, the growing expansion of the relationship between Silicon Valley and Washington. For better or worse, Musk was sort of seen as the figurehead of that, but we know there have been a number of technologists and venture capitalists and innovators who have been either engaged directly and officially or indirectly and unofficially with this administration. Does this moment change that dynamic?
Today's probably really good for Sam Altman at OpenAI, right? He becomes the tech guy that is welcome in the White House. They've already done some events together. This is probably good for those people in the tech sphere who perhaps were antagonists of Elon Musk. And maybe this is good for Jeff Bezos and his space ambitions. These are folks who were trying to take a play out of Musk's playbook and get close to Trump in the last few months before he took the White House, kind of trying to catch up to what Trump was doing. So we'll see. That said, we know during first administration in Trump 1.0 that big tech was the bad guy. So when you think of that, Facebook, you think of Google, you think in some ways a little bit of Apple when you talk about kind of antitrust issues with these companies. And the DOJ under Trump is still being very aggressive. The FTC is still being very aggressive in that area. So if you're big tech, probably still kind of stormy waters. If you're a startup that's trying to make big names or big headlines with investments for the U.S., that's probably a good place to be.